You've proposed the nationalization of mines and banks and expropriation of land, etc. What makes you think that this will work?
We need to close the gap between the haves and the have-nots. And we've seen this working in many other countries, including Chile, Venezuela, and China. And of course, people will give examples of where it has failed. Where it has failed, we need to learn lessons. Why did it fail, so that we don't commit similar mistakes? We need our government to have a greater control and ownership of strategic sectors of the economy, mining being one of them. What we're proposing as a first option is that government must take almost 60% of the actual shares in mining, because government is a custodian of mineral resources in South Africa. If Patrice is mining and his mine is operational and is making money, we go in and say to Patrice, we are taking 60% of what you are doing here, what you are declaring as profit. However, because already you have made your investment here without calculating that government will come in, out of this 60%, we will service you, will pay you something, and it must be a fixed amount of money. We'll pay you something over time. Every year when dividends are declared, we'll take from our 60% to service that debt, and then once that debt is closed, then the whole 60% will now go into servicing the interest of the people. Why do you do that? Is because you don't want to tamper with the investment of people, which was made with a long-term view. And then when you come as a new miner, we then say to you, because you have not started mining, you are going to do that in partnership with government. We want government to be involved.
Do you think government has the capacity to take on such an ambitious project?
Yes, government has got capacity. Government is giving you everything else you have today. Because of this government, you are getting electricity today. You are able to wash with hot water because of this government. What are you talking about? You speak like there are no companies that are getting closed every day. Private companies are being liquidated every day. There is corruption in private companies, in as much as there is corruption in government. So it's not as if private company is this perfect institution.
I'm not even making the comparison. I think the point I'm making is, if government itself has admitted to having capacity constraints in terms of service delivery, how is it able to take on something even bigger, such as this?
No.
Even the basics that you mentioned, such as electricity provision, there have been challenges.
There are challenges everywhere. If you can rely on the private companies to mine and sustain our economy, even when they've got challenges, let government also be given a space, a chance to prove itself if it can or it cannot manage. The document of the Youth League that speaks about economic transformation, a clarion call to economic freedom fighters, speaks about strengthening the state as an agent for change, because it will need a successful economic freedom, will need a strong state which has got strong accountability mechanisms, and individuals do not abuse their access to resources to benefit themselves. We are worried about what we are raising, and that's why we are speaking about strengthening of the state capacity to run a successful economy. But to want to suggest that everything else that government touches becomes a mess is disingenuous and is incorrect.
I wasn't suggesting that.
You are not the only one. I'm not speaking only to your question. I'm already addressing all these things that we have been hearing about. Government failure to do what? Because this government has done so many good things in 17 years. And this government will continue to do so many things moving forward. That's why we can trust this government now with bigger responsibilities in the economy. When we came into power, we were questioned the same way you are questioning us. How will a president run a government? Such a big institution. What does he know about running a government? We ran a successful government politically. When we ushered in political freedom, now we want to usher in economic freedom. Hey, do they have capacity? No. Everything is going to collapse. The same thing we had in 1994. I don't know why people can't learn from what we did in 1994.
How much support, how much of a groundswell do you think there is for nationalization of mines within the ANC? The policy conference is next year.
No, you must just use the NGC report. It says there are greater consensus on the nationalization of mines. However, because the ANC is a serious organization which takes its work very serious, will have to do a thorough research on the best model of nationalization. Not research on whether we nationalize or not, on the best research of nationalization. That's why we mentioned Zambia, Australia, Chile, China, Venezuela, and many other countries. We even go to where nationalization has failed to learn as to what led to the failure of nationalization.
Both President Zuma and the Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe, speaking at your Congress, said that they accept that the land restitution process has been very slow. Needs to be speeded up, but it has to happen within the constitutional framework. How do you respond to that?
My response to that is that we need to canvass for 75% in 2014, because we are going to resolve on the land issue in 2012, but we need to get a decisive majority, more than two-thirds majority, in 2014. Get 75%, amend the constitution, so that what we do is within what you are saying, within the constitutional confines.
But in the meantime, whilst the ANC doesn't have that two-thirds majority, how is land restitution to be speeded up within the confines of the law?
No, we are making an acknowledgement in the Youth League that we need to change the constitution. You can't do anything.
Sure.
There is no way you're going to speed up the process of redistributing the land in South Africa with this constitution, with this policy of willing buyer, willing seller. You are not going to win. First things first, change the constitution. But you don't have a mandate of the electorate. You first resolved in your organization and then send the policy to the electorate, and the electorate must give you two-thirds majority endorsing your move to amend the constitution. That constitution is not there just to decorate. The reason the constitution gives a provision for amendment is because people acknowledged that there will be amendments moving forward. President Mandela, when he said to us, let's usher in first political freedom, he knew that we should use democratic institutions to change the property relations in South Africa.
Isn't seeking a two-thirds majority then a bit of a pipe dream, given that the electoral support has now been in decline for the ANC?
No, it's not a pipe dream. What do you mean pipe dream? We are the only ones who have ever had two-thirds. We alone constitute 80% of the population of South Africa. Before we extend our mobilization to other races, just ourselves, people who don't have the land, just ourselves, people who don't have bread on the table, people who don't have schools, people who don't have access to education, but yet there is mines, we have platinum. Nobody says here, the Oppenheimers, we are going to open a college, a technical college that will teach our young kids in Sekhukhune technical skills of mining. Nobody says that.
You have fashioned yourself on the ANC Youth League leadership generation of Nelson Mandela in terms of being radical and militant. But it is the same Mr. Mandela who agreed to those sunset clauses that you now want repealed.
No, time and space in any revolution is very important. Mr. Mandela understood very well that just seizing both political, social, and economic power at the same time will lead to a disastrous situation. You first usher in political freedom, use institutions of democracy to transfer the wealth into the hands of people. That's why Mr. Mandela knew that the sunset clauses, even if there are agreements amongst people, the Constitution must have an option for amendment, so that when we reach that point where we want to amend, we shouldn't have a problem, but we should have the necessary mandate from our people. So President Mandela didn't sell out. President Mandela knew that this period will come. And if he was strong enough, I think he was not going to hesitate to lead this struggle. In the same way, he was never scared to lead from the front.